Now, I did want to just double back, though, because the FEMA funding, you have to know that one of the things the Harris campaign has done, I say campaign, I mean Harris herself, I think, has called out on some level all of these GOP members, Republicans, who are complaining about FEMA and complaining about FEMA money and funding, but yet voted against supplemental packages for FEMA funding. So, on the one hand, you are complaining that FEMA is running out of money, doesn't have enough money. You're creating this momentum behind a lie that they're out of money and there's no money, no assets going to these desperately needy regions. On the other hand, you're literally voting against supplemental packages for FEMA. Some of the Republicans who voted against the bill that would have provided FEMA with additional funding. Matt Gaetz is one. He is a Florida congressman. You get it, right? Helene hit Florida as a Category 4. It plowed through several other states in the southeast. That devastation could cost up to $160 billion. Some Republicans rallied against FEMA funding being allocated for assisting migrants after Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas told reporters that FEMA will run out of money before the hurricane season is over. Now, the agency is facing a multi-billion-dollar deficit. And the reality is they're on a continuing resolution, so they'll have money to handle these situations. But they're trying to get more funding for that agency. Everyone has to see, of all the agencies of government, FEMA is one that needs to be updated in terms of funding. The storms are bigger. The disaster is more intense. The fires more widespread. The flooding more crushing to communities. You have to update the amount of money that goes to this relief agency. And yet you have resistance from the GOP. So this whole idea that the administration diverted funds is ridiculous. It's false. There is no money that was earmarked for any of this disaster relief that's being diverted to migrant relocation or whatever. And as I told you yesterday, and I think I mentioned the week prior, Trump did that, of course. He jackhammered money out of FEMA to fund those cages, you know, the policy of putting people in those containment cages, areas, whatever you want to call it. That cost a lot of money. And he jackhammered it out of the FEMA budget. So
That's what he always does. When he, accuses someone else of something, he's done it himself. That's the way it is. He always turns it around. I mentioned earlier that Kamala Harris was on Stephen Colbert's show last night, and they talked about the lies being told about FEMA and the hurricane. And she said that, talked about the people that she met going through horrible times and talked about the lies. And she said of Trump, "Have you no empathy, man? Have you no empathy?" And that's really what it is. No empathy, using this for your own political gain and taking the hardship that people are going through and not caring about it at all.
Well, I don't think he does have any. I mean, one thing he certainly doesn't have is any empathy. I mean, my God, that's a layup to make that conclusion. I think it's quite obvious, but that doesn't make it any more acceptable. I'm just saying it's so clear, It is worth noting, just in the state of the race, and then I'll get to John Rothman, who's coming on. Kamala Harris holds a national lead in the New York Times poll for the first time. Harris led Trump for the first time in a national New York Times Siena College poll since July. First time since July when Biden dropped out of the race. So, in other words, since she's become a candidate. Among likely voters, 49% said they would vote for her. 46% picked Trump. Voters are also now, according to the poll, more likely to think of Harris as the candidate who represents change. They surveyed 3,385 likely voters, took place between September 29th and October 6th. it made big news because she has trailed in this poll all along. And now for the first time, she has taken the lead. Again, it's a national poll, so it is not the swing states. And of course, that's how we do stuff here. I'm going to play a couple of ads for John Rothman to get his comments on that. And we'll continue to talk about the state of the race. But that's a little overview on the hurricane and the relief effort. Love to integrate your thoughts on this as well. Yeah, I know you made. It's clearly this is virtually a dead heat. Phineas says market's still too close. 3% is within the margin. Yeah. And Scott says, "Wow, now you are a star of TV, radio, screen, and stage." Scott Rittenberg, I'm upping my annual Mark T fan club dues. Thank you very much for the
which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Yeah, right. I mean, it is true. I've done television shows, and just my voice has been on television shows. I mean, major stuff. Motion picture, many commercials, never on stage before. This is actually something that I should be very excited about.
Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.
Irony, says Luis. The same people criticizing government and FEMA will gladly accept Democratic help and then go right back to promoting misinformation about Democratic government and FEMA. Yeah. I think that's exactly right, Luis. Well, we've seen it in the infrastructure package. The infrastructure projects dropped on red states have helped them immensely. The GOP legislators railed against it when Biden was putting together that transformative package. But now they're peacocking about it, about their new bridge, about their new reservoir, about whatever it is. All that infrastructure money came from a Democratic administration. Trump talked about it for a long time. You know, he had his infrastructure week. I've got a great package coming. It's coming in the next couple of hours. Wait, I've left it in my other pants. It's coming next week. It'll come in 2 weeks. It's coming soon. You're not going to believe how great the package is. But Biden actually got it done. And again, it's not everything to everyone. It's not everything we always wanted, but it includes negotiation of drug prices. It includes all that infrastructure money, and it includes some real efforts aggressively to pursue green alternative energy. All of that, by the way, will be undone by the Trump administration if he gets to power. Listen, we go when it's this severe, says Audrey. Nothing worse than losing life. Century storm, you don't play. Andrew was horrendous. This one's bigger, more organized, and under pressure. Yeah, meaning the pressure is lower, which is a direct reflection of how wind velocities will be affected. So when you look at those millibars of pressure, those are measurements of pressure. All that is a direct reflection of wind, because wind rushes in to fill that low pressure. So the lower the pressure, the bigger the wind velocity. Kamala is politicizing the hurricane assistance. Is she, Jake?
No.
Is that right? I didn't say. Can you send me something, Jake, besides just your little comment? Send it to me.
Mars agrees.
I'll tell you what, Jake agreed, Jake. She's making photo shoots and sound bites while governors in North Carolina and Florida are on the ground and requesting assistance from Biden, not Kamala. Hey, dude, that's a bad bust. Mm-hmm. They want it from government, okay? Their people need assistance from government. I get it. That's the politicization. You just said it, Mars. The politicization is, no, I want to talk to Biden. I don't want to talk to Kamala. Or Kamala is what they would say. And look, I'm not some rah-rah, and I'm happy to jack up Kamala Harris if she needs jacking up on it. I'm sure on some level she's trying to look as though she's operating in an official capacity, because she is. But she has to get that word out. So you're not wrong that I'm sure there are photo ops with her on the phone and stuff like that. Yeah, that's what. In the case of Trump, just to do can we do an A-B comparison? In the case of Trump, he's on the phone and there's a photo up there and there's no one on the other end of the phone. Right. Okay? I mean, it's just a photo op. He's a performative president. That's who he was. He did photo ops. He did various things for media. It was theater to him. He played president. Meantime, he had all of these reflexive sorts of notions about how the world should be, and most of his staff were shocked by these reflective notions and tried to protect the country from them actually being executed. The next time it won't be that way. But that you could say that Kamala Harris is playing this for just political reasons, come on, dude. That's just weak sauce.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell, you'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.